Welcome to the Magic Lighthouse Podcast. For those of us who are aware that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, the Magic Lighthouse is your mystical pit stop, your spiritual tune-up, your place to pause, reflect, and realign with the next phase of our journey. Join me, Violet Contz, on this adventure to harmonize and amplify the light within ourselves and each other as we raise the consciousness of the planet, one conversation at a time. Thank you for being here and sharing your light with us. Enjoy. Hello, Dana. Thank you so much for joining me on this next episode of the Magic Lighthouse Podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Oh, Violet, it's more than good to be here. I've really been looking forward to this, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year was just around the corner. So
yeah,
getting started into this new year, 2021. Ooh,
definitely a blank slate to create if we want to create it as a new slate, you know?
Absolutely. Definitely. So Dana, a quick intro to who you are and what your magic is with the world is you're a passionate mother, a dedicated healthcare worker, and an eloquent podcaster. And I am just so honored to have you here. We connected through like mutual friends, and turns out we were in the same transformational leadership development program, and we were both in the same podcasting training course. So it's so perfect. Like we've been trying to connect, and now we're finally connecting and, getting your message out. And I'm just so excited to have you here. So why don't you share a little bit? Sorry to interrupt you. I saw your yeah. So
No, I just when I'm hearing everything you said, and it just struck me as kind of a fresh reintroduction to how we are friends. And I think what I'm present to right now while I'm speaking to you is, out of all of the relationships that brought us together, those were all constructed as a result of leadership development, as a result of us signing up for the class. But our connection is really organic. And we came together to be friends in our own way, and just by the stars aligning and putting us in the same place at the same time. And that's kind of the magic that I just got present to that when you were saying, that's why it's so cool that we do connect in a lot of different ways, because it was meant for us to be friends, and I see that now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love it. I love when it's like meant to be, and then there's different paths and directions that have us come together. Because we met on the podcasting course. My mom because she was in the same training program as you at the same time. I had already taken it, and then we met in person at another friend's engagement party. But that was the first time we actually met, I think, in person, right?
Yeah.
So it's
That's
really
so cool. I love hearing that back.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm Dana Nickerson, and as you see, I am very fond of Violet, and I'm excited about the Magic Lighthouse and the opportunity to share what people are up to and what spiritually comes up for them in their way of living. And it's no separating the two, your spirit, your spiritual life, and what you do out in the world. And so I'm excited about this podcast, and I have been since we actually were creating our podcast together. And so this is a really cool time. And just a little bit about defining Dana. That is the name of my podcast. And initially, I wrote the podcast in order for me to have a place to just express what I was going through and kind of tell people about my transformational journey. And how it was, the name Defining Dana came about because I was blogging under the name Dana Undefined. And I came through breast cancer for a second time. I was in a relationship that was really not suiting either one of us. We were not spiritually aligned with each other. And everything we needed from growth and maturity, we were trying to seek from each other, and we ultimately just wore ourselves out. And so I found myself in a place that I had never been, where I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I created the name Dana Undefined because nothing that had been happening and working in my life was working anymore. And I felt lost. And what I found out through really looking and being curious and wanting to be healthy and whole is that I was in the perfect place to recreate my life. And so I kind of recreated myself under Dana Undefined and blogged under that for a while until I got that I was on a new spiritual path, which tore up everything I knew in life. And I really started all over with friendships and even getting complete with my ex to where we're great friends now. But Dana Undefined was a step towards really being authentic and me finding out that what I was seeking was consciousness and greater awakening. And so I changed the name to Defining Dana because now I'm sure of what I'm after, and that is to define my life and to find out who I am in this space that we call, time and planet and physicality, and see what I'm here for on this go round. So Defining Dana was a place that I created to rant and to get it all out. And after about a month of ranting, I realized that no longer served me. I was good with the rant. I felt like I had been seen, heard, and gotten, which was what I was after. I just wanted people to understand me. And I realized, hey, you know what? In the last 6-7 years, you have accumulated so much information, if I want to say, enlightenment is what I'm calling it, and alignment, that now it's time to share with other people or get from them what they're going through and what life is opening up to them. So I'm really excited to be in the space of consciousness and awakening and spiritual enlightenment and healing. And so I'm reconstructing my podcast to reflect that.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
As you were sharing, I was getting chills, and
Ah,
just what you're doing feels so good just from over here. So I can only imagine
yeah.
how it feels good over there for you, to go from being Dana Undefined to now defining Dana, and not only defining Dana, but you're creating Dana
Yeah.
from nothing, moment by moment.
Yes, you said it, from nothing. And what I got today, I was in some coaching. I'll always be coaching. I will always be in self-development, personal development. But what I got from coaching today is that I had a big breakthrough in an area where I don't allow people, I guess my past has said, I don't allow people to be a contribution to me. And what I called it was not making people work for things I could do for myself. And so as we speak about creating from nothing, I got to give up some things that were limiting my beliefs of myself, and then me reflecting that back on other people who want to be a part of my life. And so even today, I get to get rid of a aspect of my life that has controlled how I do things and has limited my relationships. And I get to start right at that moment, which was about 3 p.m., and recreate that aspect of Dana and segue into a new way of being. And we are free to do that at any time, all day, every day, any day. And that's the beauty of creating,
Yeah.
we get to be who we say we are.
Yeah. Well, what do you say? So I am all about that for sure. And then there are times where I'm just like stuck in it and I just can't even.
Oops. Sorry.
That's okay. It was like, so there are times where I feel like I'm just stuck and I'm like, I know I can like get complete with it and I can create a new way of being.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel stuck. So can you kind of dissect that process a little bit? Like, how did you go from wherever you were and then like coming out of it and creating it newly?
I'll tell you what, it was a process. And what I had to do, which was very difficult. It wasn't difficult in practice. It was only difficult because I had been programmed that life should go a certain way. But what I got to do, let's say, is just like I said, stripped down to bare nothing in my life, where I stopped hanging out with friends and I really stopped associating with people. And when I felt like I was stuck, I knew that no one had the answer but me. And then wasn't ripe with the answer. So I had to really cultivate an environment for myself to be okay with nothing, because that's not something I was used to. Everything it just has to have meaning and purpose. And then on top of the meaning and purpose, I have to control it to where it fits what I say is going to do. And I got that back there in 14 and 15, 2014 and 15, that I had no control. That was the first big awakening for me, that I've never had any control in the first place. And so in finding myself stuck, there were a few things that I did. And one of them was really realize that I was unhappy and I was pretending. And I was pretending. And so it caused me to create and keep relationships that weren't growing. They weren't growing me. And I definitely wasn't growing them, because if I look at it really in a real sense, I was in a way sick emotionally.
Mm.
So anything you gleaned from me was from an unhealthy, guarded, very reactive place. And so I had to give up everything I knew about life and the way I was doing it, including my career, which was burning me out because I didn't have a healthy outlook on it either. And I went through one of the darkest and loneliest times of my life that lasted about 2 or 3 years, and I can't recall, but it was to the tune of waking up, getting dressed, laying down on the couch all day, getting up, taking a shower, getting dressed for bed, and going to bed. And in between, I couldn't really recall what was going on, but transformation was happening. And the slate from a lot of pain, past trauma, and past hurt was finally being addressed. And it hurt so bad that I couldn't do much but cry. But I allowed myself that. And people don't know what to do with you when you don't know how to communicate. And the only thing you do is cry. And so, in a very magical way, people left me alone to get after what I was up to, and that was healing. I didn't even know that at that time. And out of that, I came to a realization that I am just not happy. I've been pretending for so long. And when I came to that realization, it was like I was standing there naked, just bare, because you don't know what to do when you don't know what to do. And that wasn't a place I was accustomed to. I'm a mom. I'm a healthcare administrator. I'm a performance trainer. Doggone it, I'm supposed to know what to do and always have the answer. And I felt so lost. And that was such a blessing. Now I can see it, but I resented and resisted that time period so bad that I just was miserable. I allowed myself to get miserable, or the universe had that for me so that I could create contrast in what I had and what was available for me. And so my outtake on finding yourself when you're lost is to give up everything you're doing, to really, if what you're doing suits you and serves your greater good, it's not going anywhere. But by me releasing and being free to release my monetary gain, which was my job, I knew I couldn't be good on the job until I was well. I got that. I got that really, really plainly and like no other time. And, the monetary loss was there. The loss of friendships were there because I no longer aligned with just whatever anybody said. I would go along with it. And in that blank space, I just feel like I started to wake up to my natural self, which really took a lot of instruction because there wasn't a natural self on the shelf that I necessarily pulled down. But looking back in hindsight, I got that I had to get to where like I was just bare naked to the world so that I could put back or re-choose and create something new for myself. And by doing so, I was ushering myself into the life I have now, which I love. But all I can see is that I'm losing everyone. Nobody loves me. And I just have this way of thinking that's been with me since I was a child, that nobody wants me around. So what became apparent is I'm doing everything to push people away at a time that I can't be okay with. Nobody wants me around, but it had to happen that way. And I had to be okay with being so alone that everything I put back was wholesome and helpful. And then answers started to come. And so I believe that, like I'm a big follower of Abraham Hicks' teaching. And the number one thing we do is ask the question. Number two thing is allow the universe to answer. And then the third thing is listen to what the universe is saying and allow yourself to align. And it's in the allowance and the surrender, which is the hardest part, but that's where the magic is. That's where the magic is. Because we have it that we know what we need for ourselves. And we have it that nobody knows me better than me, when a lot of times we don't really know ourselves. All we know is what we've been programmed to live, the stories that we carry around about our past, and all of that shapes us into who that wants us to be, not who we want to be. And so I got some freedom from that, and then I was able to flow a little more.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So there's so many like directions I want to go, but I'm just like curious, like what do you know if there was anything that triggered that 2014 kind of spiritual awakening? And side note, like that's when I had my bigger spiritual awakening, where I literally, like, that's a whole other story, but I went through so much anxiety, and like I even had to be like taken care of by my parents because I was literally not in my right mind for a few weeks, and I had stressed myself out. I had burnt myself out, burnt out my adrenals. I was just like, ugh, like it was crazy. So I'm just curious, like, was it like a spontaneous thing, or was it like because you were seeking change and then it came, but not really in quite the gentle way that we would have probably both liked?
That's a beautiful question, and thank you for sharing that, because I see me in your story as well. I did have to be taken care of, and it didn't go so well because I was in a relationship that was at its end, and the end of it became real apparent at that time because, as it was, I believe that the universe was stirring me to something greater. And so thank you for sharing that, because it did bring something back to mind. But what prompted this spiritual awakening is interesting. I looked up, I had an argument with my ex, and that was our custom. But this day I was just tired of arguing, and I'm like, I gotta fix my mind to either deal with this or get myself together if we're not gonna be. And I just did a simple Google search of what does it mean when people tell you you're crazy? And that Google search came back narcissist. And I started to study narcissism, which is how I became a life coach and a peak performance trainer. I studied both and certified in both because I wanted to help people who might not know what they're going through, not necessarily narcissism, but just to have an ear for you to talk it out. And so the more I studied narcissism, I realized that not only had I created an environment for narcissist abuse or narcissistic abuse, or however you want to say it, that I had been struggling from childhood PTSD, which upped the stakes a little bit, explained the adrenal fatigue, and the double bouts of cancer. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, I would ask anybody I thought could help me to help me. And I remember there's a spiritual sister, Iyanla Van Zant. She's a great speaker and role model to women. She's a Black woman, and she has a ministry of healing. And she's very, very popular. She's one of Oprah's girls. So Oprah put her up, and now she's mainstream. But she was at a book signing, and I heard that she was in a book signing. I was in class. I was finishing my undergrad, and they said, Iyanla's signing books at, over in Leimert Park in Los Angeles. I tore out of school and I ran up there, and I was so poor in spirit. When I look at those pictures, I can't even believe it was me. And I went in and I bought the book, and she said, does anybody have any questions? And I just raised my hand and I gave her one of those questions like, what if? And I wasn't prepared with a question. I just wanted her to see me. I just wanted to be seen. And she said, come to me when we get ready to sign books, because I don't think I get your question. And the reason is because it wasn't really a question. It was just a cry for help. And I got up there and she looked at me and she hinted to, she wasn't pleased with my demeanor. I didn't get dressed. I had on an old t-shirt that was too big, a black scarf around my neck, black stretch pants, didn't comb my hair because I was going to school. But now that you know the Dana who's inside that body, it doesn't matter where I go. That wasn't me showing up. And she assessed that, and she spoke something so powerfully into my spirit that night. I never did ask her a question. And as a result of that, I got that people have my answers. I'm not going to find it alone. And so one day I went to lunch with some girlfriends and in Torrance, some coworkers, and we were having a great time at this little Thai food place. And afterward, we weren't quite ready to go home. So we said, let's go to that crystal store next door and see what she has. And as it was, the whole shop full of crystals, which was like electrifying for me. That's my thing. Was half off. So we spent most of the day in there just picking rocks out and put them in the basket and tarot cards. And it was just such a good girls' day. I got my second understanding. The power is in numbers. With women, when they're together, they heal. And then that day we were hanging out and one of the readers came in, one of the tarot readers. And I was kind of tossing back and forth. Maybe I can read her because have her read me because I can read cards too. Do I want to spend that money? But it was just a pull. I was just curious. And when I walked back to her suite, I passed by the first little cubicle and the young lady in there did Akashic records. That was her expertise. And I backpedaled and I said, do you have time for me? I glanced at her and she said, I'm here for you. And that's when it all started, Violet. She read me and she read back into my past life. And she said some things that were so powerful that I knew the universe had revealed and that my ancestors were there communicating with her on my behalf. And that was the beginning of the grand awakening, that she gave me life in seeing me. And then that she was in tune with some things that just resonated that she wouldn't have known, couldn't have known. And I got that at that point, maybe my spiritual focus on something that's out there that I was told I was lost and need to be found, that I've never been lost. I've never been lost. And that turned my whole, I'm a little bit emotional, that turned my whole world around. That I'm not lost and I've never been lost. And it gave me so much power to look into those hurting spots. And I started doing the deep work like right away. And anybody who I felt like had a message, I'd call them. Radio stations, I didn't care. Can I speak to your radio host? She said something that is just a synchronicity. And I'm looking at the clock saying 10:10. I need to talk to her. And I didn't care what it was, Violet. I was so bold and ballsy about it that I got what I needed. And then the universe started to communicate to me directly in an old way, because the stars and the moon have always summoned my attention, but I didn't realize that's where my gifts lied. And so after I allowed myself to be free in her message and her reading and her really bringing to light the things that didn't match up, I knew I was on the right path. And I've been on the path ever since, to find myself, to find why I'm here, and to define my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
It really is beautiful. I was a hurting young lady. I lost my mom when I was 13 years old to cancer.
I'm sorry to hear
I
that.
started having surgeries when I was 6 or 7.
You did?
And what
For
I
yourself?
found out, I'm sorry?
Oh, so you started having surgeries?
Yeah, I got sick. I started getting sick when I was about 6 years old. And at 7, I had tonsillectomy. And if we follow the branch, it would look like sporadic this and that. But now through Reiki and understanding more about energy, everything that had to do with my feminine parts or my voice was being attacked. I had tonsillitis and had to have a tonsillectomy. Next was appendectomy. After that, I've had several other surgeries, really bad oral surgeries that don't turn out right, just attacking my voice and my femininity. Breast cancer twice, hysterectomy, the appendectomy, bad fibroids, cramps, digestive issues. And I didn't know anything about chakras, but I knew that something I knew that there was a correlation, that my voice was being silenced and my body was ailing because I wasn't free to be a girl. And so as I look back at it, memory started to reappear. My memory came back, or I allowed it, if I could say. And that period I get was intentional, because your body does a masterful job of protecting you from what you can't handle. And at that time, my body was saying, it's time for you to heal. And I had to allow it. And it was all of my femininity that was being attacked in the midst of all of the trauma that I had been through as a child. And so the door flew open, the floodgates flew open, and I feel so blessed, because I almost feel like I got a special invitation to a new life, you know? I really do. I feel very, very blessed that things went as unfamiliar and uncomfortable as they did, so that I would continue to seek.
Wow. Such courage and bravery going through all of that. Wow. I really acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
So
oh,
go ahead.
Well, I think I was just trying to make sure I answered your question, because something about when you're finding yourself, you might not know what to look for. That's really what I think I'm present to, is, that lost feeling, but you don't know how to get found. You don't know. Right. And so there's so much in the surrender.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, the surrender, the waiting for, allowing, the sending out the desire, asking for what it is that you want, like you were mentioning earlier, and then waiting to receive it. That's the hardest part for a lot of people, right? We just are so anxious to have it now or find out now.
It's very hard. And what is the biggest challenge is, until it's revealed to you that your programming stands in the way of you being present, we're always thinking back to what happened, what should have, whatever, or what I'm going to make happen in the future. And for me, what was very difficult, having lost my mom, living in fear, having been, abused and traumatized through my childhood, I had a hard time with the present, because the present always hurt. And so I was great at the imagining part of creating, but that made me aspire for things that either weren't going to happen, or things that I weren't sure were in alignment. Just get me out of this place. Mm-hmm. And that was the unhealthy life that I could really say, if I could nail it to one thing that caused life to be unhealthy, is that I was never comfortable in the right now.
Yeah.
I wanted to escape now all the time.
Yep. I can totally relate.
You can?
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you can.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. So just like, it's miraculous whenever I hear of people who've beat cancer, or like healed through cancer. What's your biggest insight coming out of that? Like, how did you get through it? How did you cause that miracle for yourself?
I'll tell you what, this is kind of an interesting thing. I think you and I had a conversation about kind of like, what's my magic formula now? How do I stay so up? And what I do now is really focus on how I feel. And there are times that you really have to talk yourself up and things like that. But I try to keep myself feeling good, focused on something that keeps me happy. And what I can look at now, and that was prior to my spiritual awakening and transformation, but when I had the breast cancer, I was completely in love with that man I was with. Mm-hmm. And we made fun and games out of even my chemotherapy trips, because I'm from the West Valley. I'm from Agora Hills. And so my oncologist from before was in Thousand Oaks, and I wanted to go back to him. And so every 5 weeks, my boyfriend and I would pack up the car with snacks and goodies and my dog, and we would go stay at this La Quinta Inn that accepted animals, and they had a pool. And so the first thing I was going to do when I checked in is get in that pool, which I love to swim. And then he would take me to chemo the next day and feed me that night, because the next day I wouldn't be able to eat. We knew how the drill went by the second time. And we would party the whole night, the Thursday, after chemo. Either we go to the happy hour, the dance club, or wherever. And every other weekend that we could, we would take off and like go to San Diego. We went to San Diego several times. We took cruises, and he really, really pampered me through. And so what I really believe, and I think you and I believe alike, is that whatever you can to create joy in your life and raise your vibration, that that high vibration is going to yield just what you want out of life, not necessarily what you're vibing high about. And so although I was having fun with my boyfriend, which who doesn't want that, what was happening for me is cancer wasn't taking a hold of my mind nor my body. And I was freely able to give it up because I had this that gave me so much joy to focus on. And so that's one principle that worked then, and it's how I run my life now. I don't care what it is I want. I start getting giddy about whatever it is makes me happy. Most of this time it's this little 7-pound chihuahua or a girlfriend, and we're on the phone laughing. You know, we're in the midst of COVID. So sometimes it's just a ride by these mountains, and we live close to the same mountains, you and I, that have snow on them now. That gives me so much joy. And so if I'm sitting here creating, I'm creating 4 different businesses right now. If I'm sitting here creating and it's not fun, it's because I'm too in it and I'm not generating from a place of joy or inspiration. So I'll go do something like get on my bike, go jump rope, hula hoop, blow bubbles, and literally whatever I can to make me just tickled.
I love that. That's so nice.
Thank you.
Aw. I love that. Just tickled, like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I get tickled at
bubbles.
myself now. Yeah. And I keep people in my life that keep me tickled. I have a couple of very special people that make a really big difference in my joy level.
That's awesome. That's so important.
Yeah.
Joy is such a powerful force, for sure. So what is something, and this will be like my last big question, but I'm just curious,
Okay.
like what's something that you're looking forward to this year?
Oh, wow. Geez. Okay. That's loaded. I think I am so on, my new word is precipice. One of my coaches gave me that word, and now I'm wearing it out. I'm on the precipice of a new career and reinventing myself in creating wealth. And so what I'm looking forward to are my new streams of income and creating who I want to be in these roles. And each role I get to be somebody different. I think that's so exciting. I'm an actress too. And so what better way for me to have fun is that like to be highly dramatic. So I get to create a new role for each area of my life I'm fixing to enter into. And that really excites me. I don't know what it looks like and I don't want to know yet. That's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
And I just see that for once in my life, I get to do what I want to do without regard for how it looks to others or what, you know, what tangibly can really happen. I can go after it and I believe I can have it all. So what's exciting me this year is really getting that I can have it all.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your wisdoms, your healing, your just sharing yourself, sharing your magic with us.
Oh gosh. This is really a great experience for me because I just, I haven't gotten to really share that story. And I believe that even in sharing it, it gives me power in order to share to somebody else when somebody else really wants to hear our stories. And the more we share it, the more we build ourselves up inside of who we are and who we want to be for others. So this is such a special opportunity for me. I'm so grateful to you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you too. And thank you. I 100% agree with you on sharing. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with here before we sign off?
You know, I do. My what I would like to leave the audience with right now is to really get that we are in a time that's unprecedented. And I get that people are doing the best they can. And I get that people might just go on with life as usual, and that's okay. And what I really would like to encourage people to do is to find find out and listen to and acknowledge what's going on inside. And if not, take a step further and just get that we are going through a traumatic time. And the most encouraged and positive person in the world is still affected by the current trauma that we are going through globally. And so please take the time to get to know your emotions, because they're going to show up differently than ever before. Don't let too much time go between you acknowledging just what's happening, because the best way for us to kind of get over things quickly is to pretend like it's not happening. This is happening. And it is affecting you. If it's not affecting you, it's affecting your children, your spouse, and people might not even know how to react or respond. And I'd rather them respond than react. And so I'm just offering an invitation to be okay with the messy, be okay with the tears and the not feeling like it, and the really real side of you. Be okay with that, because on the other side of that, if you give yourself the downtime now, we can push through and recreate or create newly, because we don't want to recreate what we had. I don't. Create something newly for yourself that might look totally different than what you had expectations for, and be okay with it. And sometimes it gets messy, and be okay with that too. And so I just want to really encourage everyone to take time to heal.
Beautiful. I love that. That's
Thank you.
Perfect note to complete here. If people want to get a hold of you, if they want to find out more about your life coaching offerings, find out more about your other businesses, what's the best way for people to get a hold of Dana?
Oh, great. Okay. Well, if anyone wants to reach out and have a conversation, they'd like to just have someone to talk to, I am doing free 15-minute sessions and indefinitely, more than likely. And my email address is definingdana@gmail.com. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook or Instagram so that we can get to know each other, get related, and you can inbox me any request you have on anywhere you see me. My Facebook is Dana Monique Nickerson, and my Instagram is @definingdana. So I made it real easy.
Beautiful.
But please reach out.
Yeah, and I'll put the information in the notes below. So if people want to go down and copy and paste it, check it out there. It'll be easy for them. And yeah, I love having conversations with you. Like last time we talked for maybe an hour, and it was just like, it was so nice. It just flowed so well.
It was very nice. It was
really
very
good at
nice.
Listening.
It's very easy conversation with you. I love that. And that's what happens when people who are in alignment get together. Mm-hmm. And we can produce gifts that bless other people.
Absolutely. Well, you have been such a gift. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being in my life.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I would love to have you on again. And until then, have a wonderful evening. Happy birthday to your daughter.
Thank you.
And yeah, I love you so much. And
I love you too, Violet, to pieces. Thank you so much. And see you, everyone. It's so great to be here.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
For more guided meditations, soulful conversations, and conscious content launched weekly, please follow the Magic Lighthouse wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next week.